Now, Rosie Jarman was a regular, fit and active 14-year-old teenager before she unexpectedly became unwell. She endured intensive cancer treatment, but her experience and resilience provided her with an invaluable insight which she wanted to use to help others. Sadly, Rosie did pass away last year, but her mother, Kathryn, bravely joins us now. Thank you so much for being on the show with us, Kathryn.
Thank you very much. Thank you for inviting me.
First of all, I'm so sorry for your loss, but your daughter sounds like a very caring young lady, which is why she wanted to help others, I guess.
That's absolutely right. That's why she wanted to write a book.
Bless her. Now, we've made that come true. You've made that come true, which is brilliant. So it's called A Mountain in My Heart. Now, why the title?
So her cancer was a tumour inside her heart. At the time, just before she got diagnosed, Rosie was doing a art project on anatomy and was quite interested in the heart at the time. The heart, it has multifaceted meanings. We love walking in the mountains, and it's very close to our hearts. So the mountain in my heart is to reflect our love for the mountains, and also the fact that Rosie had a tumour which was like a mountain inside her heart.
And I'm guessing the Welsh mountains by your accent.
That is correct.
Beautiful, beautiful. I love Wales. Right. So as we said in the introduction, she was fit, she was active, she was just a normal teenager. And did it just sort of happen overnight that she became unwell?
Well, she was, as I said, she did 4 expeditions for her Duke of Edinburgh in the June of 2021. Just prior to that, she'd had COVID, but it wasn't too bad. After she'd done her expeditions, she just got a little bit sick and tired, and we thought she'd overdone it. But then this persisted for a couple of months. Come to October, when she was being vomiting every few days. She was then admitted to hospital for an assessment, and within that week, she plummeted, partially because her heart was beating quite fast. They put her on a drip, not knowing that there was a tumour inside her heart that was pushing that fluid back into her lungs. So after a week of intensive assessment, by which point she couldn't lay down or anything, they did a scan and discovered this tumour which needed to be removed immediately.
And how do you do that when it's in the heart? Does she have to have open heart surgery?
She did indeed. There was, as soon as it was identified, we were told it needed to be removed within 24 hours. I mean, I count us as very lucky at discovering it, because we could have lost her whilst walking around the shops in an instant. So it was, you have to kind of count your blessings sometimes. So we had to, as soon as they identified it, they had to look for a hospital that had the correct surgeon and cardiothoracic intensive care for the recovery afterwards. The one that was available at that point in time was the Evelina London, which is part of Guy's and St Thomas. So within 24 hours of them doing the scan, she was down in the Evelina London having open heart surgery, which lasted for 7.5 hours.
Oh my!
So yeah,
Christ.
Yeah, she was incredible.
Well, she sounds it, because the whole 9 months was intensive. I mean, as well as that, presumably she had to have chemotherapy and radiation.
Indeed. So she had her open heart surgery. At that point, they didn't know that the tumour was cancerous. It was because it's very rare to get a tumour in the heart. After a few days, once the tumour had been analysed by the Royal Marsden, they said actually it's even rarer. So this condition, having a cancerous tumour in the heart, is only recorded as affecting 35 people worldwide, and only 5 of those are children. And Rosie now makes 6. So it's incredibly rare. So there was lots of discussions at a national level to work out what the best treatment programme would be. So her surgery was then followed by 6 rounds of intensive adult grade chemotherapy, which it was grueling, and she had all the complications in the middle as well. And this was also bearing in mind during COVID, which just added an extra level of dimension to it. And then progressing from that, she went on for proton beam therapy, which is like radiation, but it's more targeted at a specific point. She was due to have 33 rounds of that. So that means 33 times in the big, massive machine being zapped. Okay. So that's each day she gets zapped. That was then reduced to 28 days because she had lots of side effects and other things started going on. So, yeah.
And during all this, when most of us would just lie down and feel sorry for ourselves, she still wanted to help others. So she was keeping a diary.
Absolutely, which is absolutely mind-blowing. So as soon as she was diagnosed and knew how rare her tumour and cancer was, she thought, well, I'm an expert in this. There's not many people that know about all these signs and symptoms. I'm going to write them down and I can help the medical professionals to learn more about it. So she started recording her experiences in a diary. And as things developed, she thought, do you know what? I'm going to extend this to make this book really comprehensive. What can I do that would really help people? So she then decided to do lots of research, and it still blows my mind how much she did, because we didn't really comprehend how much work she'd put into it until we looked at it posthumously after she had passed away. But she did a huge amount of research on different childhood cancers and the signs, the symptoms, the equipment used, different procedures, which progressed to help lists for families. So when you're rushed into hospital, which you are frequently during cancer treatment, especially chemotherapy, you have your treatment in the hospital. You go home for a few days and you think, oh, lovely, I've got maybe a week at home. I can recover before I go back in again. But more often than not, you'll end up with an infection and you'll end up going in sooner. So rushing to and from the hospitals. And we often forgot things like you would do. Yeah. So Rosie's created these help lists for families, for children and parents on what to take to hospital and what to expect. So
incredible. What an incredible girl, eh?
Definitely.
Incredible. And you mentioned that it was during COVID. Were you allowed to be with her then, or was that not allowed because of COVID?
This is the very difficult thing. So most of the first week we were in our local hospital. It was only one of us at a time, either myself or my husband. Rosie's sister was not allowed to visit. No children were allowed to visit on the ward. When we went to London again, my husband and I were there initially for for her heart surgery and the PICU, the intensive care recovery aspect. But after a couple of days, the restrictions then set in, so only one of us would be allowed to stay with her at a time. So that was quite difficult. Again, during the chemotherapy side of it, so this is 6 rounds. It took about 4 months of chemotherapy during COVID. Only one of us was allowed there at a time. And again, her sister couldn't see her during that time.
Right. Yeah. Very tough. It was a tough time, wasn't it? It's just, you were going through a double tough time, because I can't imagine what it was like for you and her father and her sister.
Absolutely. It was difficult, but we're a very close unit. We work very closely together. We've got some incredible friends. I mean, it's lovely friends who, the chemotherapy was at Cardiff Hospital, and we have some friends that live in that area. And one of them used to drop off pies from his local butcher, which was wonderful.
Yes, and very, very appreciated, I would imagine.
100%.
Well, I know that the sale of this book is to create awareness, but it's also to raise funds for charity in accordance with Rosie's wishes. So which charity is it for?
Well, in the back of the book, we have about 17 different charities who have all helped during Rosie's journey. So our NHS is absolutely fantastic. They're wonderful, but there's limited funds and things that they can do sometimes. And all these amazing charities fill the gaps. So predominantly the money will be going to Latch, which is the Welsh Children's Cancer Charity, who, again, absolutely incredible. As I said, we turn up at hospital with nothing, and they provide bits of food for the parents, a living space. They provide a social worker to help. So they're wonderful. Another one that's incredibly close to our heart, during Rosie's last 3 weeks of palliative care, where she was really quite poorly and we weren't sure how we were going to get through it. Dreams and Wishes, who are based in Newport, absolutely transformed Rosie's last 3 weeks. They are very close to our heart. They enabled our daughter, who at that point was paralysed down one side. She had a syringe drive, a needle in her leg permanently. They enabled her to have some of her wishes, one of which is fast cars. They popped her in a Lamborghini, which was amazing. And then off to a local airstrip where she was allowed to fly a plane.
Oh, she did. Wow. Are there any photos in the book?
There are lots of photos. So Rosie wanted this to be a comprehensive book. She wanted photos in it. She wanted some of her medical images in it, which will help a lot of medical professionals. So I believe part of what we have in it is saying that it will help medical professionals as well. It has a lot of information there to explain different types of cancers, but also Rosie's specialist unique cancer. But she has got photos of her in the Lamborghini and flying, and just so you can see how beautiful she is.
Oh, bless her. And I don't think there's any other book that has been written by a young person in this position, as far as I know.
You're absolutely right. We haven't seen any, which is what makes it so unique. So from a medical perspective, when you have your doctors and nurses who are fantastic coming in to see the signs and symptoms and try and treat them and diagnose them, this gives a perspective from what it's like from the other side, from that teenager, from a holistic aspect. So it's really quite unique.
Yeah, and it'll probably help other teenagers, other children as well that are going through it.
Definitely. We're doing some work, hopefully, with the Evelina in London, which is part of Guy's and St Thomas, to help support provisions for young people with cancer and for the medical professionals and education-wise. We're also going to be working with Cardiff University Medical Faculty and hope that her book will be used to support the students and training there. So hopefully it will support and help a lot of children and families and professionals, and to learn Rosie's story and give them a different perspective.
Yes, indeed. Well, she sounds like a real inspiration. You must be terribly, terribly proud.
Oh, we really are. Absolutely.
Good for you. Well, I'm certainly going to buy a copy of the book. We are selling it on our website for our listeners. So you can buy it right there. We want everyone to buy it. It's called Rosie Jarman, A Mountain in My Heart. And it's by the lovely Rosie as well. Kathryn, I know how tough this must have been, and I really appreciate you taking the time to be with us today.
Thank you very much. And thank you for helping us share Rosie's story.
Anytime. You just let me know anything we can do. Thank you very much.
You.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.